Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
Hello, my fellow hoopheads, and welcome to One and Done, powered by drroto.com. We are your fast break for all college basketball information. I am your humble host, Napesy Hustle. You can find me on X at @TheRealNapier, and I will throw you a follow back. Now, with the transfer portal deadline fast approaching, we are getting commits, new names added to the portal every single day, and Mike and I are tirelessly going through these names and creating the transfer portal big board. We have, I don't even know how many names on there right now, but we're sorting through them all, and you can find what we have out there on drroto.com as well. Here to break down some of the recent commits and entrants, I have two of the best in the business. I'm going to start with our captain of the Green Screens Media ship. You can find him on X at MCHolland34, Mr. Mike Holland. How was your birthday weekend, bud?
It was good, man. It was really good. Blessed to see another trip around this great earth we live on, but we're excited to keep diving into the transfer portal with you. I think I have an update for us on how many guys are actually on our big board. Now, when you go to drroto.com, you'll find a top 300 board. We are closing in on 400 guys that are ranked right now. So I think we're going to try to build this thing up to a top of 500. Now, there's like 1,900 guys in the portal. So you say top 500, and it seems like a lot. That is not even going to be 25% of El Portal. So that is why we're bringing you guys all this information. I appreciate all the help from everybody on the crew so we can make this thing and get it out there so everyone can enjoy it. But, I'm excited to talk about a lot of stuff that's been going on in the portal recently.
Yeah, absolutely. Tons and tons of names on that list, and we are going through those. And who else is helping us on this journey? No one else but our Baron of Bread. He's coming to us live from his own blue portal. Eric the Blue. Find him on X at FantasyNav, Mr. Eric Romoff. How we living, brother?
Man, we're living good. We're getting more and more clarity about where these players are going to suit up next year. And I think we're coming up quick. What is it, Wednesday? The deadline for new players to enter the portal, right? So while we're at about 900, that number shouldn't change a whole lot, right? So with each passing day, we have a better picture of how each of these teams is going to put together their roster, and that's where the real analysis begins. So super stoked and chopping it up with all the breadheads out here.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the breadheads, we have one of our day ones and always commenting, Cam C Thuggin coming in. Sup, fellas? Happy Cade to Carolina Day. So welcome in.
Cade to Carolina.
Appreciate that. Keep the comments coming. While you're in here, make sure you go hit those like and subscribe buttons. We are sitting at 940 right now. Our quest for the comma is on. We're trying to get to that 1,000. Help us get there. Tell your friends about us. Tell those water cooler guys that you don't really want to talk to. Tell them, come on in. We'll talk to them. All right. Hit that notification bell. We got a lot of content coming in on this off season. So make sure you know when we are coming on. Moving on into the show here. Normally we'll just go straight into the commits and entrants, but I wanted to kind of go into some of the non-portal news, right? It's off season. We have a lot of stuff going on. Let's start off with our defending champs. UConn lands the 5-star high school prospect, Liam McKneeley. Mike, they're just reloading here, right? They're trying to go for 3. Tell us about this get, Mr. McKneeley here.
Yeah, awesome get. One-time Indiana commit. Guy's a big-time shooter, McDonald's All-American, big-time shooter. And UConn, they know how to put the ball in the basket and take these guys that can really shoot it. And so he's just another weapon for them. He's great on the catch and shoot. He's guy's going to run off a bunch of screens. Pull-up game is good, so you can't just defend him, run him off the three-point line because he can hurt you that way. So I'm excited to see this. I know Alex Caravan is testing the NBA waters, if he goes, seems like a guy that will slot right into kind of what Alex Caravan does. If Caravan comes back, McKneeley does have enough versatility. He can play a little bit of the 3 and the 4 for you. Defensively, I'd say he's pretty solid. I mean, he's not like this explosive athlete, but he's good enough on that end, to where he's not a liability. So just a great fit for, obviously at this point they've won 12 games in the NCAA tournament. So I think Coach Hurley knows what he is doing for sure. As we get a commenter here, I think it's a new commenter, Joe Cornett. Joe, what's up, my man? Talking about Edgecombe here, the stud freshman played really well the other day. See, we'll stay put at Baylor. Does UK have a chance? I think Kentucky has a chance with everybody. One, because of NIL, two, because of the prestige. But I mean, Scott Drew knows a thing or two about putting talented players into the league, and I see Baylor holding on to this one. So we'll see. I mean, you can never say anything's concrete in NCAA, but something to pay attention to, because that guy's stock is absolutely blowing up, even though he's already like a top 5 consensus prospect here.
Yeah, exactly. If just as in life, the only thing that's certain in life is uncertainty, right? And that goes double for college basketball.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last day, they could change their mind, right? Moving on to the next one, Hunter Dickinson, as you can see on our slide here. Hunter Dickinson returns to Kansas. Obviously, this is huge news to get a consensus second-team All-American back. Eric, what are your thoughts on the big man running it back with the Jayhawks here?
Man, this is a huge piece of news for Coach Self and for the Jayhawks, right? Like, we like to poke fun at Kansas for how their season ended last year, but a lot of that down the stretch had to do with the health of not only Kevin McCullough, but also Hunter Dickinson himself, right? So, you look at his season on the whole, his first year there in Lawrence, put up a phenomenal campaign, almost 18 points, almost 11 boards, a block and a half per game, right? And like that type of player just isn't out there all that often, right? So the fact that like you can get him to use his COVID year, get him back into Lawrence, and really get a professional caliber player who now has another season under his belt in this offense, like it's such a huge retain for them. And you look at the kind of the makeup of this Kansas roster, and now all of those holes that we were kind of poking in their resume and in their profile heading into tournament time last year, they've kind of gone out and answered by way of the portal, right? Where they've brought in that outside shooting. Defenses aren't going to be able to key in on Hunter as much as they were last year. So yeah, look, the guys moving around in the portal is obviously super exciting and fun to cover, basically the free agency in college basketball. But you also have to take a moment and recognize just how impactful a move like getting your star player back really is. And that is to put it lightly in the case of Hunter Dickinson returning to Kansas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's almost like if you can hang on to a guy, that's almost more impressive than actually going out and getting a new guy. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It seems that way.
These guys, I agree with that, man. Like it's, you see it all the time. Like Truly always says, sometimes it's the ones that you keep, right? We always love to say like, oh, 1,900 players, they're going all over. Well, guess what? You're getting like one of the top 5 players in the country returning. That's pretty good for your program.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's only a couple teams left that is really going that are having their same guys come back, right? Only like what, 5 teams?
Yeah, I think we saw like a list of like 4 teams.
Yeah,
that didn't have anybody in the transfer portal. It's pretty funny.
Exactly. Stuff. I mean that just shows coaching too, right? Like if you're able to hold that many people, you're doing something right there. Moving on to our next one here. It's kind of some sad news, but I'm going to hold back tears here. But Florida center Micah Handlogten is going to sit out the entire year after breaking his leg late last season. Gruesome injury in that SEC tournament. Coach Golden told the media that he's going to redshirt this next year. Mike, what are your thoughts on this tough news here?
Yeah, I think it's kind of expected when you hurt that late in the season, especially that type of injury. I don't really see a reason for him to rush back. I mean, going to give him time, like he can focus on his rehab. There's not going to be like this timeline for him to get back on the court, he's still really young. Like he was just coming off his sophomore year, so now he'll be a redshirt junior essentially. So, or excuse me, a redshirt. What is that? So I finished your sophomore year, going to your junior year. So yeah, he'll be a redshirt at that point there. Obviously, it's not ideal for Florida, but you got enough players there. I mean, they have gotten some pretty good players in the portal here. You got Thomas Huff coming back. Condon should be coming back. I mean, Chinye Liu is coming over from Washington State. Samuel Alexis is the guy that we really like, type 150 player coming over from Chattanooga. So, yeah, give them the year to rest up. We've seen in the last 5 to 10 years, guys really able to come back up to full strength. I think of the NBA, you think of Paul George, you think of Gordon Hayward. Those guys that have those nasty, leg break injuries, and it's just disgusting to see. And you worry about the future, but just with everything's at right now, I feel like he's going to be able to come back. He's a big dude too, so you worry about that a little bit. Some of those guys that we were talking about were wings, so we'll see if he can get back to 90%. Even that would be awesome. But take the full year, man, and get back to getting healthy.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, tough to see him get that, but let's see him get better and see him the next year, right? So good to go there. Now, this is one of my favorite things to say. Portal combat. Love it. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk about something that Joe Cornett asked about. Well, the team, we're going to talk about Kentucky first. We have a new commenter in here saying, "Go damn Cats." I don't know how to say his name. Nutby Triposi. I don't know. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Go Cats.
Right.
Go Cats. Yeah. Joe Cornett coming back in had a flashback.
That was gross.
Yeah. For breaking it, was like that was.
Yeah, that thing was like protruding out.
Those ones just like stick with you.
Yeah, exactly. That's a tough one. But yeah, we're gonna move into some Kentucky moves here with our next segment. I'm gonna talk about Coach Pope. He's finally getting on the board earlier this week with the commitment of the Drexel big man Amari Williams. I mean, over the past few days, the Wildcats landed a couple additions to their backcourt. Eric, can you tell us about the big three that are heading to Lexington right now?
Yeah, Amari Williams was just the tip of the iceberg, right? Coach Pope has gotten busy in that portal, brought in 3 new headliners, starting with Lamont Butler, the former San Diego State guard. He's number 58 on our transfer portal big board, played 37 games for them, about 28 minutes, 9.5 points, three assists, poked out a steal and a half per game. So a guy that, should certainly be able to contribute a little bit more in an expanded role, a huge get for Coach Pope. He also added Andrew Carr, the former Wake Forest forward. He is 109 on our big board. Also played mid-30s games, 35 games in his regard, 32.5 minutes, about 14 points, much busier on the glass, nearly 7 boards per game, and chipped in 1.5 blocks. He could also shoot from range, 37% from downtown. So very versatile piece coming in from Wake Forest. And then the last piece there, Otega Oweh, the former Sooner wing, 175 on the big board, played about 25 minutes, gave him about 11.5 points and a steal and a half per game. A little bit more of an outside shooter, 38% in that regard. So, I mean, the big news, at least today, was the Carr commitment, right? Like, he is a perfect pairing with Amari Williams. Williams is much more of your rim protector type of profile, a guy that can facilitate for you on the offense a little bit. Carr is much more of the stretch 4, right? Like big time ability to shoot from range. Also showed that he can block pretty well, right? Like if he puts his mind to it, he can definitely be a force protecting that rim. So the synergy between the two, I mean, it should be a real good match. It should be fun to watch these two pair up. Mike, taking a look at the rest of this Kentucky roster, a roster that had more question marks than anything just a few days ago, feels like it's coming into focus here. So what do you think about the other two that I talked about?
Yeah, I mean, so the backcourt here, they're going to probably need to land a dynamic point guard. I love Lamont Butler. Everybody remembers the shot that put them in the national title game. Just such a clutch shot. He's obviously coming from a program that's known for defense. Kentucky this year is already, just with the roster that they have, a few players that they have, they're already better defensively than they have been in quite some time. So you think about it, Amari Williams, a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year in the CAA there, and then you get Lamont Butler, who was the Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year. So he's a proven winner. This is going to be an older, more experienced Kentucky team. Obviously you want to bring guys in that have Final Four type experience, especially for the first year from Mark Pope. Like offensively, like he's not going to overwhelm you. I mean, he does most of his damage by driving to the basket. He's a very good passer. I think that's kind of an underrated part of his game. I don't know that I really love him to be like your primary, like your point guard. I like him a little bit more, as maybe off the ball a little bit. Get you someone in here like Davon Smith, one of these other point guards that can really, really get your offense going. I know they can play a little bit through Amari Williams and his passing, but I love him as an off-ball type guard, a great defender. And then Oweh, like he's really interesting. Like last year was just so up and down for him. Like he's not a great shooter. I mean, he had 38% from three, so kind of contradicts that. But he's really a guy that wants to attack the glass or attack the rim and the glass. So defensively, he'll get after you as well. Just kind of weird, right? Just in and out of the rotation for OU. I'm obviously not as high on him as a Lamont Butler or a Carr, which is why we have him down at 175. But still, like he's a talented player. I think getting out of that Potter-Morzer system at Oklahoma too, seeing him in something a little bit more wide open for him is gonna help his game.
How is
for
Moser
sure.
still running that system? It feels like
I don't know,
30
dude.
years old.
It's so annoying and so old. But I love Carr. I think Lamont Butler is a fantastic. Like people are gonna dog that because he doesn't put up like gaudy stats, but San Diego State's offense isn't like this. Beautiful Creighton. Move the ball around. So I think Butler here in this system, I think is going to flourish a little bit more offensively. I don't think he's going to be asked to do as much heavy lifting once we get some of these other guys in. But I'm liking what Kentucky's doing. I think Mark Pope's done a fantastic job so far. At least.
Friend of the show, Mr. Mark Pope, and Kentucky, they're in on a lot of these dudes remaining in the portal, right? So they're in there. It's just a matter of him. My big question is if he can land some of these big fish coming in, right? So a lot to see here. A lot to see in our comments section here, just blowing up. We love these comments. Keep them coming. We have Cam giving the assist of the name there. He's playing the show, so I will. Oh, okay. I read it something else.
Hey yo.
Cam talked to Andrew Carr at the airport in Phoenix, Final Four weekend. Super nice dude. Great for UK. That is awesome. Tar Heels for life coming in. won't flash the other one, but talk about Cade, Tyson. Yes, we are coming up. Stay tuned. We got them in our portal commits here. And any update on Wagner possibly coming back, or is he gone 100%?
Yeah, I don't. That whole thing is weird because his dad is, I know, involved in kind of everything that's there, and I could see him coming back. I think Mark Pope would love to have him come back. I think that system that Mark Pope runs offensively would probably be maybe a little bit more suitable for him to play in, at least from my perspective. As we say, we don't want Wagner. That's kind of the year that was for Wagner last year. I think a lot of people kind of soured on him as the year went, but we'll see. If I had to guess, though, I would say he's probably not going to be in the old Big Blue Nation next year.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for the questions, guys. Keep them coming in. We love talking about it. We love answering your questions. Keep them coming, and make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you know exactly when we're going to be coming on all off season. Season's over. Transfer portal season's almost over. We aren't done. We go all the way straight through. So make sure you like and subscribe. Tell the fellow hoop heads in your life about us. So let's get into some commits here, gents. We have a ton coming in. Like I said in the opening, every single day, our feed is just filled up. Our group text message is just blown up.
You have to silence it sometimes.
Exactly. Blown up with all these commits. We're going to do 5 at a time. We're going to do 2 of 5 on the screen here. Mike, let's go ahead and start with you with our number. He's 26 on our big board, so this is a pretty big name here.
Yep, number 26 in here. Sean Pedulla, guard from Virginia Tech, 6'1", 195, commits to Ole Miss. So Chris Beard on the board here again. It feels like we have talked about Ole Miss landing.
Where's he getting these scholarships from?
Top 100 guy.
This math doesn't add up.
Yeah, well, finally he's got some guys leaving. So that's Brandon Murray headed out the door. Cissé's out the door. So now he's got some room to play with here. Austin Nunez is heading over back to Arizona State. Nate C. Hustle's squad there, so freed up 3 scholarships for him. So now bringing in a lot more talent than what was kind of going out the door, at least in my view. I'm not sure why this kid doesn't get a more buzz. I feel like he's kind of overlooked when you kind of talk about some of the top point guards offensively. I mean, he's a dangerous weapon, an elite shot maker, 92nd percentile in that regard. He can create his own shot. I mean, he can provide spacing. He's a solid distributor. The problem with, kind of his game right now, and I think a lot of it had to do with him just kind of being had to be the number 1 and number 2 option for this Hokies offense, is the assist to turnover ratio for a guy that is probably going to have the ball in his hands a ton. 1.39 assist to turnover ratio. You don't love that. Just needs to kind of cut down the turnovers here. I mean, defensively also, he's not a stopper, although his defensive rating every season in college has gotten better. So he's not going to be a stopper, but if he can just play adequate enough defense and really cut down on the turnovers, I mean, he's an elite offensive weapon and a great shooter. So I think he's going to be a much more effective player surrounded by better talent here at Ole Miss, and we're projecting what Ole Miss's offense to look like, especially what he's going to be playing with and pick and pop and pick and roll with guys that are coming in from the portal. So, maybe not a number 1 option, but I think he could flourish as a number 2 or number 3 option for this Ole Miss team. Number 56. Let's bounce it back, man. We'll let Nate C. Hustle jump in on number 56 here. Go ahead and tell us about the recent commit to Arizona State, my guy.
Yeah, if you see the pitchfork next to somebody's name, it's pretty obvious I'm going to be the one talking about them, right? I saw this name come through, and I immediately texted back, yes. I was so excited. I mean,
yes.
Number 56 on our big board, BJ Freeman, wingman out of Milwaukee, committing to my Arizona State Sun Devils. He played 27 games last season, 32 minutes per game, 21 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, just over 4 assists per game, and he's shooting 35% from the 3. Huge addition. I mean, everybody was leaving ASU. Now we're getting some people in, so super exciting to see for Coach Bobby Hurley. Freeman was one of the best offensive wings in the country last year, right? He dropped 33 against Providence in non-con, which is huge, in my opinion. He's 8th in the country in usage rate. I mean, he can beat you off the dribble, shoot the 3, and he's an elite passer, in my opinion, or at his position too, in my opinion. Now the question is, Arizona State, we're going into the Big 12, which is a meat grinder, as we've said in the past. Can he adapt to that grind? Right? He needs to stop turning the ball over. It's 19.5% turnover rate last season. But regardless, his offense is much needed for my Sun Devil program, and I'm super excited to see what happens with them this upcoming season. So super pumped. Eric, who you got next?
Yeah, next up is number 77 on the big board, Jalen Blackmon, the former Stetson Hatter, 6'3", 180 pounds. He has committed to the Hurricanes of Miami. Looking back to last season, he played 35 games, about 35 minutes per game, gave them 21.5 points, almost 3 boards, and shot 38% from distance. And this wasn't like he was picking his spots and only taking wide open looks. He shot almost 300 3-pointers, 289 attempts to be exact. So to fill up 38% from with that sort of volume is insane, right? Just an elite offensive weapon coming in from the mid-majors, an absolute bucket, right? One of the best floor spacers in the country, and to boot, 90% plus free throw shooters. So whenever he's getting to the line, he's basically a lock to see it go through. This isn't a guy that's gonna attack the rim, right? He's much more of a pure shooter where he is clearly elite. And now he heads to Miami, where Coach Larrañaga's system is just tailor made for his skill set, right? Like if you have to nitpick a little bit, like the stout defenses he'll face in the ACC are clearly of a different caliber than what he saw suiting up for Stetson last year. But I mean, the last 2 years he posted a pretty solid 114 defensive rating overall. So can he improve defensively? Can he adapt to a role where he isn't the number one option on every play? These are kind of the open questions for Blackmon, but all told, like, getting a guy that is a certified bucket into a system that really showcases that feels like this is a fantastic fit for Blackmon and for Miami. Mike, don't have to go too far down the board. Number 80 is next up here on the graphic.
Yeah, it's Felix Okpara, number 80, the former center from Ohio State, 7 foot, 230 pounds. Headed to Tennessee, played 35 games, 24 minutes a game. The stats aren't gaudy, except when you look at the blocks per game, 2.4 in 24 minutes. You love that. So huge pickup for Coach Barnes. I mean, they're losing Adu, they're losing Oweh to the portal. So to get this guy in, Tennessee loves to play tough defense. You get his shot blocking in. Offensively, you feel like Tennessee, with what they're bringing back and what they've landed in the portal so far, it's going to be pretty good. So to get that anchor in the middle is really good for them. Offensively, like, he's not a guy that you run plays for or anything like that. He's going to do his work on lobs. He's going to get putbacks. Really, really good offensive rebounder. So what they want is they want him to set the tone defensively for them. And that's been a staple of the Tennessee program, since Barnes has been there. We know that from his time down here in Austin. So Felix Okpara, man, jumping over from Ohio State to Tennessee. Another top 100 guy committing on our big board, Cade Tyson. Eric, man, what do you think about the 3-4 man from Belmont?
Yeah, ask and you shall receive. Tar Heels for life. Cade Thompson sneaks in just inside of the top 100, number 97 to be exact. Coming in from Cade Tyson, coming in from Belmont, commits to North Carolina. For Belmont, he played 31 games in about 32 minutes per game, 16 points, nearly 6 boards, and shot 46% from downtown.
Is that good?
Huge get for Coach Davis. Tyson is clearly a tremendous three-point shooter. He can score pretty well off the dribble, right? He's not just a catch and shoot guy. So that versatility is enough where you can play him at the 3, you can play him at the floor. Very long defensively. He's got that pedigree. His brother Hunter played at Clemson a few years ago. So I mean, the fit is awesome for this Tar Heel system that really relies on their 4-man, right? So having another option to rotate in there, having a guy that can gash you a few different ways when he's playing the floor, like you've got to expect big things from Tyson coming into this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, talk about on fire. Look, have you guys been looking at this comment section? It's just been going off.
It's heating up. 46% from comment range.
Yeah.
Where to start?
Where to start? I mean, we'll start from what was it? Peanut butter
posse.
There we go.
He's got a prognostication about what's going on here. Going for Osabor, Jackson Robinson, and Elijah Hawkins, and then they're done.
If they got those three.
Yeah, if they got
I love me some Elijah Hawkins. I love me some Elijah Hawkins.
And our friend Trilly Donovan seems to think that they might have the inside track for Aiden Mahaney as well. So definitely some big names that are swirling around this Kentucky program. And then Cam asking for some feedback. Seems like the Kentucky faithful are in the chat tonight. Wants to know how everyone feels about the hire of Mark Pope. So
I like this. I like what he's saying here. It's not the name; it's the guy. He's an offensive. That's what I've been talking about. This offensive system that he runs with BYU was just. I mean, it was beautiful. So it's good for winning. It is good for. I agree with that. And the question is, like, who was Dan Hurley before UConn? I mean, that's kind of everybody, though, right? Like, I get that comment, but like once you start winning, it's like, well, who was that guy before? Kind of makes sense. Joe Cornette saying, he likes Pope. Kind of hard not to if you're a true Cats fan. We talked to Coach Pope last year. He was one of our, I think we did 13 or 14 interviews with coaches last season. I mean, he was really fun to talk to. He's a straight shooter. He dropped some
had
crazy
all three of
knowledge.
us ready to suit up for BYU last year, right? Like,
yeah, he invited us out
see
to the
how
Marriott
his
Center.
coaching and his style just gets the energy going.
Yeah, absolutely. Razorback Rock saying dude can cheer, that's for sure. Mall Hornet, I don't think we've seen him in here. Who's y'all's top three teams right now going into next year? We kind of talked about, last show we did a rapid fire segment. We talked about Houston with all their talent coming back and obviously what they do defensively. We talked about Duke and just, getting these veterans in. Kansas, obviously, with the talent, and Hunter Dickinson, like he's pretty good. Kansas, UConn, St. John's for Joe. Yeah, man. So, the chat is on. I don't even know if we got time for all these comments, but we love them coming in.
Keep them coming, guys. We love to see it. We love seeing the interaction between you guys. That's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to build a community to talk about college basketball all through the year. So love it, guys. Keep it coming. Make sure you like and subscribe. You know the drill. Get in there, hit that the notification bell, and follow us along. So that concluded our first 5. Let's go to our next 5 commits, starting with somebody else in our top 100. Mike, who are we starting with?
Yeah, I got number 98, and the aforementioned Kansas Jayhawks here. Rylan Griffen, the wing from Alabama, 6'6", 190. Swinging through here to Lawrence, played 36 games, obviously made a Final Four with Bama, 11 points, 3 boards, shot nearly 40% from 3. Coach Self, like Jay would say, wasn't playing around when he said he was ready for next year. He has addressed pretty much every concern, and he got Hunter Dickinson to come back. So, Griffen, an elite 3-and-D wing, like on offense, he's very active off the ball. Like he's going to be able to knock down the open look, which is, what this offense needed last year. His defensive rating, like I say, he's a 3-and-D guy. Like it wasn't great last year, but you look at like what Alabama does. They run 4 guards out there, so a lot of the times like he's matched up on like a 4-man, things like that. So I give him a little bit of slack on that. I think here at Kansas he'd be asked to guard more of the 2s and the 3s here. So don't think he'll be as gashed defensively, but an absolute weapon, an awesome pickup for Coach Self. At number 111, a guy that we talked about a lot as just kind of a weird year for number 111. Eric, what say you?
Yeah, number 111, number 5011, Pop Isaacs, the former Red Raiders guard, 6'2", 170 pounds. He's committed to Creighton. Looking back at his last season there for Tech, played 34 games, about 33 minutes per game, gave him 16 points, 3 boards, 3.5 assists, and poked at a steal per game. And look, I mean, the early part of this offseason for Creighton was looking a little tumultuous, right? Trey Alexander announced he was heading to the NBA, but just as fast as he's out the door, Coach McDermott flips around and addresses some pretty big questions by going out and nabbing Isaacs, right? Like it wasn't the best year offensively for him, right? Like it was much more of a volume driven type of approach. And I think that shows in this next stat. He had kind of a down year shooting 29% from 3. The year prior, he shot 38%. So, you mentioned it earlier, Mike, at least in contrast to the San Diego State offense, this beautiful flowing Creighton offense is one that is going to get him open looks. It's going to get him good shots. I really think that we can see him rebound to closer to his career highs in terms of shooting percentage. And look, this is the type of player that we talk about when we talk about ceilings, right? Like if you roll the ball forward and talk about all the things that could be going right for Pop Isaacs next year, he's someone that can really make a big splash on the scene. So, you can question whether or not he can stay focused and, take that step forward in his junior year. But, it seems like Coach McDermott has a pretty good track record of keeping guys' eyes on the ball. So really like this move for Creighton, really like this move for Pop Isaacs. Will be a fun one to watch play out. Again, Mike, don't have to go too far for the next player up. Slide down 5 spots and tell us about who is sitting at 116.
Yeah, it's Dakota LeFew. He's the guard from Mount St. Mary's, 6'5", 185. Commits to Georgia. Georgia getting on the board here recently.
Mama Rocks. Where you
Mama
at?
Rocks, shout out. Mama Rocks, one of our day one commenters, especially during the DFS season. He played 30 games, played a ton of minutes, 35 and a half per game, averaged nearly 18 points, over 4 boards, almost 4 assists, over a steal, or had a steal and a half per game, shot 36% from 3. Look, we had kind of trying to figure out what Georgia was going to do this offseason, but Coach White's clearly retooling his backcourt by landing LaFew. He also got his teammate, Deshane Montgomery, who had a really good freshman year for them, even though he turned the ball over at a very high clip. But an interesting duo, right? You're coming from Mount St. Mary's. The two guys are best friends. LaFew was a first-team All-MAAC performer. Just put it all together last year. Showed a lot of versatility defensively. He carried nearly a 5% combined stock rate. The thing you worry about bringing these two guys in who started for MSMU is that MSMU was 228th in defensive efficiency and 342nd in turnover rate. And you're bringing in, their two main primary facilitators over into the SEC. So I feel like of the two, like LaFew, he should be able to carve out a nice role with the shooting ability to, kind of handle his own defensively. So it'll be interesting to see this Georgia backcourt definitely going to look a lot different with LaFew coming in and some of these other guys. Number 123. If I talked about this guy, it would probably take us 3 days to finish the show. So we'll let Eric take this one, man. What say you about number 123 on our big board?
Man, the roller coaster ride that following and watching Nick Pringle has been is turbulent, to say the least, right? So we got him checking in here again at 123, the former Alabama center. He is committed to South Carolina, so staying in the SEC. Looking back to last year, he played 34 games for the Tide, but only played 18 minutes, 18.2 minutes, gave him about 7 points, about 5 rebounds, right? But that's not really the whole picture, right? Like, we look at his per 40-minute averages and they were insane, but he had some off the court issues. He was kind of in and out of the rotation, right? So like you can't just look at these these season long stats in a vacuum. Production wise, it felt like he was either fouling out like 5 minutes into the game, or he would just completely impose his will and put up these monster double doubles, right? So we have him sitting at 123, yes, but this is a guy where if it all works, like he could legitimately be top 50 plus type of upside when we look back on this list at the end of the year. And now that he's heading to South Carolina, he gets to team up with Colin Murray-Boyles. That makes this front court super interesting under the guise and direction of Coach Paris there. And Pringle, he's very effective around the rim. He's one of the best offensive rebounders in the country. Like, there are so many things about his game to where, like, if that light bulb just goes off, like look out, like another huge season incoming for South Carolina and Pringle when we see it all line up for him. So super curious to watch how this one plays out. A lot of excitement behind this get. Nape, it is your turn. Close us out here. We're jumping down the board a good bit. 259 is where we find Cameron Hunter.
Yeah, Cameron Hunter, number 259. A little bit of a drop, like you said. Guard out of Central Arkansas, 6'3", 200. Commits to Wisconsin, the Badgers. Now, injury forced him to miss the entire year last year, but prior to that, he played 30 games, about 34 minutes per game, almost 17 points per game, 5 rebounds, and just about 4 assists per game. I mean, the Badgers finally have something to get excited about this portal season, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they have finally something to celebrate.
It's here.
Yeah. I mean, this guy, he's going to attack the rim. He's going to get to the line. He's going to get all those fouls. He's just not an outside shooter. Really needs to cut down on his turnovers, right? But he does give you the effort on the glass and defensively. I mean, I love his ability to get others involved as well. How much of his game has developed and how big of an issue is that injury last year going to be, right? Did he get any rust? Did he continue to work out? So we'll kind of see how that plays out. So we have him at 259, Cameron Hunter here. Now that's our first 10 there. First 10 spotlighted at commitments. Now, if you thought that was big news, with the deadline rapidly approaching, like I said, we had a wave of big-time portal entrants. And speaking of a wave, another wave of comments came through while we were talking our heads off over here. Coming in with Joe here asking, who's your team, guys? So I think everybody knows my team.
Yeah, so Joe, appreciate the question, man. I am a Texas Longhorn through and through. So, yeah, they like to give me crap whenever we have to talk about Baylor or the Aggies or
Mike's
anybody
Baylor
else.
Bears.
Yeah, Mike's Baylor Bears. It's a running
Red
joke on this
Raiders.
show. So, yes. But yeah, Nate C. hustles with Arizona State. And Eric, who you squadding up with?
I am the impartial observer. Yep. I am a Big J journalist on this program, just trying to give fair and balanced, unbiased opinions as we navigate all 350 plus.
He's our very own Switzerland in the GSM universe.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's the answer for you, Joe. The beauty of this group is that we talk about all basketball, answering peanut butter comment. If you want viewers to talk Kentucky, yeah, absolutely, we get it. But there's 300 plus other teams that we need to talk about as well, you know. And we love talking about Kentucky, and we love talking about all those teams. We love talking about all the guys. So kind of going back and forth there.
So Jakovic, he committed to Cal. I think it was yesterday. He's going to Cal. So Mark Madsen, like I look at Cal's, and we're gonna, we do portal wrap up shows probably here in about a week or so. Or a couple of weeks, depends on how many commits we get, and then we'll do like kind of some overviews of rosters. Me and Nate C. Hustle are going to work on all 362 rosters, and that's going to be just a a long duty for us to do, but that's why we like to do it. Yeah, he's going to Cal, so a great fit there. It was interesting that Texas wasn't involved.
This might be the comment of the night: going to California, not Ipari. My guy, this just cut right through me. And then Miles asking an age-old question, right? Where do we go for really consistent, up-to-date news? Mike, I'll defer to your direction here, but I mean, my opinion is that there's not really a singular answer, right? Like you gotta find sources that you trust. We have gotten close with a number of different beat reporters over the years, and those are really our go-to sources. There's obviously people that are a little bit more on the news breaking side, like Trilly Donovan, where if you want to try to read the tea leaves and figure out what's going on behind the scenes, that is a great follow. But Mike,
what about us?
Yeah, we're right here, of course.
Oh, Cam is in there saying
business, right?
What are we doing?
Cam's in there singing our praises, and here, of course, is what he says in there. We're always going to give you the impartial news, unless it's about ASU. And or UT.
Exactly.
But we're going to give you the impartial news as soon as we hear it. We put it out as best we can. You can follow us on our Twitter, One and Done CBB. You can follow these two gentlemen next to me, always putting stuff out. Eric at Fantasy Nav and Mike at MC Holland 34. Follow us. We'll get that info out to you as best we can. Who's y'all's personal fave portal player?
I'll take that. I'll take a shot here. I'm going to go with, because I have him number one on our big board. I still think John L. Davis is the best transfer. I don't know. I love his game. I love what he's going to bring to, wherever he ends up. So. Yeah.
I mean, mine is BJ Freeman, obviously, because he's going to my favorite team. And he's almost top 50 on our big board. Yeah, that's just something for me to celebrate, but I'm just a homer. So,
man, I'll go Davon Smith here, right? Coming out of Utah, just it's like so electric on the offensive side. I would tend to agree, right? Like Davis is probably a little bit more of a well-rounded player, but like you talk about a guy that just can come in and take over an offense. I mean, I'm not reaching far, right? We've got him at 3 overall, so no shortage of phenomenal options available out there in the portal.
The thing is, like, as soon as you pick a favorite portal player, there's like 10 guys that jump in, and you're like, no, I like that guy. Like, if you'd asked me this, I'd be like, Darlington Dubar, and then it's like, oh no, like Norchad Omir's now in the portal. It's just that's 1,900 guys in the portal. So to pick one guy as a favorite is pretty tough, man.
I mean, Peanut Butter coming in, great Oats aboard, probably the biggest impact player, hard to match up. Kind of agree. Yeah.
I mean, he's up there in our ranking. He's number 13 on our big board. So
Exactly.
absolutely. I think a guy like Kadari Richmond obviously deserves mention. We'll talk about some of these guys here in just a minute. But
Yeah, I was just about to
Kadari
say, I mean,
Richmond,
our next 5 entries into the transfer portal, especially with it being this deadline coming up quick, we're going to see a lot of big names coming through, and our top 10 is just going to like change daily, it seems like.
Exactly.
So speaking of which, we have our first guy here breaks into our top 5. Mike, why don't you start with somebody you just said a second ago?
Yeah, number 4 is the aforementioned Kadari Richmond. Seton Hall guard, 6'6", 210, average 16 points, 7 boards, 5 assists, over 2 steals per game. Obviously, big-time portal addition. I really struggled with not putting him at number 1. I just have a problem when you can't really stretch the floor at all. His first team all Big East. He's one of the best two-way guards in the country. Like every school's after him. Arkansas, St. John's, Kentucky. Like everyone that has a scholarship available, which is like only I think everyone has an open scholarship to offer Kadari Richmond, say for maybe like 5 or 6 teams, and even those 5 or 6 are probably going to tell someone to walk to bring in Kadari Richmond. So
give him the boot,
we'll see. I don't think we have any like firm news as far as like, who's leading there. Some of you guys in the comments have heard anything, please let us know. We'd absolutely love that. But sliding down only one spot, Eric, only one spot is another aforementioned guy. Who you got?
Yeah, and as we get deeper into the portal season, right, like these guys that are cracking the top 10 have some weight behind them, right? Like the guys we were talking about in the top 10, 5-6 weeks ago, all slid into the teens and the 20s by now, but a firmly cemented until another all-pro type player slots in. Number 5, Norchad Omier, the Miami center, played 31 games for them last year, played about 31 minutes as well. 17 points, 10 boards, steal and a half per game, and right at the Heinrich line, 35% from range for Omier. So, might be the best, if not one of the better two-way players in all of the country. Second team all ACC, played 120 games in his career, right? He transferred in to Miami a few years back. So, not last year because everything kind of fell over for the Hurricanes, but the year prior, made that Final Four. He's got that deep tournament run experience. He's strong. He's versatile on both ends. Like these are really the things that are setting him apart. So, there's rumored that he is listed to be under the do not contact flag in the portal, but I would imagine that there are teams working their way around that, right? Every program out there really has to be involved. We're so early, we don't have a clear favorite. Mike, kind of like you were saying with Kadari Richmond, right? Like you'd be hard pressed to find a team that wouldn't make room for Norchad Omier coming into their program. So he's slotting in at number 5. We'll move down to number 27, another player coming out of the state of Florida. Mike, who you got?
Got Chaz Lanier, the wing from North Florida, averaged 20 points per game in 33 minutes, almost 5 board shot, 44% from 3. This guy is an absolute bucket. Burst onto the scene last year. A pretty cool story with this guy. He dropped a 50, 40, 90 season, which you don't really see really at any level of basketball, but an incredible development for North Florida program. Just want to shout them out. I think we got a couple of coaches on tap. We were kind of talking pre-show that we'll be checking in with their programs, hoping to talk to these mid-major coaches. I'd love to hear kind of their processes and what they look for in specific players. And yeah, Chaz Lanier is just one of those guys, man, can create his own shot. He's lethal from 3, has really, really developed the Synergy. Had him listed as the most efficient offensive player in the country last year. So I think when you're shooting 44% from 3, that's really going to help. But a lot of rumors here that Tennessee is in the lead. So yeah, Lanier here, the wing for North Florida, spotting up at number 27 in our big board. Number 41 has played a lot of basketball in the Big Ten. Eric, what you say about AJ Hoggard?
Yeah, with Hoggard here is checking in at number 41, and we talked earlier, we answered earlier about some of our favorite players in the portal. Hoggard might be up there for me. Granted, he's sitting at 41, but the versatility that he brings to his game is something that any program can slot in, and he's in a position to make a positive impact. Looking at his offseason so far. He tested the NBA waters, but decided to come back for year number 5 in the college ranks. In year number 4, he played 35 games, about 29 minutes per game, slashed 10.5 points, 3 boards, 5 dimes, and a steal and a half per game. And he's just flat out one of the strongest guards in the country. That strength offensively to go along with his ability to pass and to dish it out. His aggressiveness in getting to the rim. Like, these are all things that, like I mentioned, programs will absolutely feast after and can make a lot of use for. So not only that, defensively, one of the best guards in all of the Big Ten. So yeah, I mean, there is going to be a long list of programs that will be out there chasing him down in pursuit of his services. And speaking of down 1 spot to number 42 overall, Mike, what do we need to know about Jalen Wells?
Yeah, he's a wing from Washington State, 6'8", 205, played nearly 30 minutes last year. 12.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, shot 42% from 3. You love these guys, especially in the college game. The 3-ball feels like the 4 points. I'll always say that on here. One of the top 3 in D wings in the portal. He transferred him from D2 this past season. Is key cog of Washington State's surprise season. Like, he's an elite outside shooter. Does most of his damage on catch and shoot, which everyone's looking for catch and shoot guys. Just ask Indiana, who landed Luke Goody. But yeah, I mean, he's not a one-trick pony. A solid mid-range game, has some handles, he can keep defenses honest. Another guy that we're just waiting to see who who pops up on his list. But I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of teams. Dave C. Hustle. I think everybody, when you play the sport of basketball, I think you got to score a little. So these guys that can really shoot the 3, I think they're going to garner a lot of interest.
Yeah, I mean, if you've actually played a full amount of games, 34 games, and you're playing a lot of minutes, and you still have that percentage, you're getting looked at, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. This comment section is going crazy. Cam's in here with a great question. Who do you guys think underachieves more next year with their new look teams, Rick Pitino or Mike Woodson? What do you say?
Well, I can't say anything on St. John's yet because we don't really have.
We don't really know.
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, obviously, we Lance Goddard, Richmond. Like, that outlook of the season tends to go up a little bit here. Speaking on Indiana, like, we love the big 3 that are coming in as far as like individual talent, but as far as fit, we were kind of like, can anyone shoot on this team? Like, you have Renew, Balo's coming in. Like, he needs to have spacing. The 2 guards that are coming in, Miles Rice, struggled down the stretch, only shot like 28% from 3. Like, where the hell's the shooting going to come from? And then, of course, we just talked about Goody jumping in the portal. And that's a guy that was one of the best catch and shoot 3 men. Like, he's gonna play a huge role for them next year. They need guys that can open up the floor. So, yeah, I think Indiana, just because it's Mike Woodson, like, I would say a little bit more nervous about that. But we have to see what St. John's, what they're going to look like.
I'll say it with my chest. Yes, it is a fair point that we don't know exactly what groceries are in the cupboard for St. John's quite yet. But if we look back over the history of these 2 coaches, right? Like, Rick Pitino has a much stronger history of getting more with less, right? Like, getting the most out of his guys. Whereas, unfortunately, with Mike Woodson, like, we go back over these last handful of years. Yikes. Every single year, he's got these super talented rosters that just don't quite get to the destination that we would forecast for them heading out. So, I mean, no shade to Coach Woodson, right? He's gone out and he has acquired some very talented players. But if I had to put my money on it, I would think that Pitino gets a little bit more out of his guys.
Yeah, it looks like Razorback Rock agrees with you. Pitino had the worst time of his life this season. He's going to be ready. So
that might have been more a coach speak, because then they rattled off like a bunch of wins and beat UConn. And
right. Probably one of the other funny comments I see here is from Joe Augard. The weather is beautiful in Kentucky.
I heard it's lovely this time of year.
Send him some letters of love, and maybe
they need that. Offense needs that. Elijah Hawkins, Davon Smith, AJ Hoggard, like, they need someone that can really run this offense, because I don't think you want Lamont Butler being your primary point guard here. So, we'll see what that looks like, and I'm sure
he's definitely on the radar.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah. Well, one thing that you guys were talking about, we had in that last slide, we had our last group of 5, we had 2 new top 5 players coming into our big board. And you're just talking about how these guys keep falling down the list, right? Because people keep adding on. Just reminded me of my DFS days this year, right? You just kind of starting up at the top, you're like, yeah, and then you're like, oh,
yeah, just slowly falling.
yeah. But yeah, I just thought that was funny. But if madness continues, we still have a guy in our top 50 in our next 5 here. Mike, tell us about number 46 here.
Yeah, Trezarian White, the wing here from UNC Wilmington, 6'7", 190. Kentucky fans that are in the live chat, they remember the name. But he's a 2-time first-team All-CAA performer. He dropped 27 on Kentucky, slashed 49, 39, 72 this year. It's pretty impressive slash line when you consider he was 6th in the country in usage, and still able to put up those type of numbers. You love players that are hyper efficient on large volume. Also 11th in the country in fouls drawn per 40. So a guy that's going to consistently attack the rim and can shoot the 3 at nearly 40%. Like everyone around the country is going to want this guy. Sliding down to a guy probably known a little bit more for his defense. Number 58, who you got there, Eric?
Yeah, known for his defense and known among the GSM faithful, the breadheads out there, as we're breaking down those DFS streets. Nape, you were teeing it up perfectly. Posh Alexander, number 58 on the board, the former Butler guard, clinically underpriced in the eyes of DraftKings. So plenty of exposure to him over the course of the regular season. That was a regular season where he played 32 games, about 32 minutes, gave him 11 points, 4.5 boards, almost 5 dimes, and poked out 2.2 steals per game. Mike, you want to talk about defense? Poking out that many is a huge addition to any team. And like Hoggard, like another big point guard, 6 foot, 205, excels at distributing and just completely wreaks havoc defensively, right? So he's got a ton of experience. You always like to see that with these guys coming in that, have plenty of notches in their belt. And like I mentioned in the DFS context, just broadly, like nationally, humongously undervalued, right? So he seems like he would be a great fit in a number of different programs. We're seeing him get a little bit better offensively each year, which only makes him more and more dangerous. So, looking at the landscape, rumors are flying all around that Dayton might be the leader in the clubhouse. That would be a fun one to see it play out. We will definitely keep close tabs on that. And Nape, another name that we know from our DFS life, number 63, Wooga Poplar. What do we need to know about the soon-to-be former Hurricane?
Yeah, exactly. Number 63, Wooga. One of my favorite names, Wooga Poplar. Wingman out of Miami, 6'5", 190. He played 29 games, 31 minutes per game, 13 points per game, almost 5 rebounds per game, 2 assists, and 38% from the 3. So almost to that 40% mark. I mean, it's another big-time 3 and D guy, right? He's the wingman that can shoot the 3 and play some D. He shot a career high from 3 last year with an elite catch and shoot rate. He was an unsung hero a few years ago, right? When Miami had that Final Four run. He's just a good athlete, and he's gaining a lot of interest from around the country. So, yeah, Wooga Poplar here. And, Mike, we have Peanut Butter asking about our number 88 guy here, Mr. Jackson Robinson. Why don't you tell him?
There we go. Oh, gosh. Already assuming he's going to follow Pope, which probably will happen. Yeah, he's number 88. Like, you got a question mark by him. He's the wing out of BYU, 6'7", 190. 33 games, 26 minutes, 14 points, 2.5 rebounds, 35%. It's kind of been a long time coming with this one. It's like, is he going to get into the portal? But a very efficient offensive player. Was really the only guy that could get any offense going against Duquesne in the tournament. Really good positional size. But the thing is, like, tell me what he does outside of, providing you with some shooting. Like, he's not a guy that's going to cry. He's not going to rack up a ton of boards. He's not going to facilitate, I don't know. I don't feel like he's a top 50 type transfer. So every team needs shooting. for me, he's a top 100 type transfer. These guys in the top 50, these are primary facilitators. These are, big guys that can, the college game is still land of the big men, even though in March the guards are very, very important. It's just really hard. When you're a wing, you need to be like a Darlington Dubar. Those type of guys, Dalton Connects of last year, like those type of guys that can just do so much from that wing position. Because I feel like, traditional lead guards and then your big guys and then really your wings are kind of like you look at the national championships, right? It's really strong guard play. And look at the two guys that were the centers in the national championship game, Zach Edey and Donovan Clingan. So for me, it's tough for me to put, Jackson Robinson inside the top 50, but that's why we love college basketball. Like it's, it's all subjective, especially with 1,900 players. Like, what are we doing here? It's almost too many it is too many to rank, which is why I think we're going to stop at 500.
Get about a quarter of them, right?
Yeah, he may get drafted. Yeah, we're not talking about like NBA. I'm just talking about like flat out NBA. Yeah, I mean, you put Jackson Robinson in the NBA with the shooting, like it's a whole different thing. I'm talking about what college programs need. It's not the same game for sure. Long range maybe more valuable to put up just because he's familiar with that. That's what he runs. Yeah, I think he's going to be in. Yeah. I think he is going to go to Kentucky. I don't think it solves Kentucky's issues with they need a lead. They need a lead guard. Like they will not go anywhere without landing a Hawkins or a Smith or a Hogard or a Kadari Richmond. They will not. You can't just have Lamont and Butler around the point, and then you have good shooting wings and then a couple of solid big men. Like it's not going to work. So no, I appreciate the comments, man, and we love to go back and forth, and we look back at the season and you see that who I picked is not going to win the national championship. So there you go.
Well, especially at this time of year, right? Like it's so hard to rank these guys. Really, from like 30 to 100 is a real difficult pocket to try to navigate, and then from like 100 to 300 is a mess, right? Like it's just it's such a narrow margin between each of these players.
Well, like, we've moved so many guys already, like up and down.
Like they move up and down, but also all these rankings are in a vacuum, right? Like we talked about it earlier. Jackson Robinson goes to like Miami where they just love to spray all the time, and he can absolutely outperform that ranking, right? He falls into San Diego State that's much more defensively focused, and clearly that number is going to go in the other direction, right? So I think 88 is a real good spot that accounts for what he's done over the course of his career, but also kind of like the median point of the different teams that he can land with.
Yeah, absolutely. Good deal. Well, gentlemen, that is all she wrote. All of them. That's it. We're done.
You don't want to give Miles Kelly any? You don't want to give Miles Kelly?
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Miles Kelly,
man, honestly, that's how I felt during DFS season with Miles Kelly. Because your roster,
nothing to see
right?
here.
Like,
well, if nothing else,
we'll let Eric take the reins on how crazy Miles Kelly's season was.
Joe's coming in, taking a long hard look at this list of names. Plenty of all-world name candidates if the conductor Jay Heinrich was here tonight. So we'll go with something a little bit more bland with Miles Kelly. In terms of the name department, number 126 on the big board. He is the former Georgia Tech wing, 6'6", 180 pounds, played 32 games for them last year, about 32 minutes per game, gave them 14 points and 5.5 boards. I mean, look, this is the volume scorer in a nutshell. He's got good athleticism. I like him in a role where he's not the number one option, right? Kind of like we were talking about with Pop Isaacs, that high volume can really hurt your efficiency. I think he's a really talented kid, and if he finds himself into a spot where he's a second or maybe even a third banana, we can really see him get back to those, more high efficient days and really be a nice piece for a team that's trying to make a push. So Miles Kelly is who will round us out here, number 126 on the list.
All right, now that's all five of them. My apologies to Miles
Kelly here.
Good deal. Well, yeah, I mean, that does conclude what we're talking about today. There are a million names out there in the portal right now that we still need to talk about. Plenty of more content coming. I think we're going to be on a little bit later this week. We were talking about coming in probably Wednesday at the deadline, right? But before we get out of here, I do want to talk about, or do want to come in and look at Clark Townsend put in a comment here. I think people are overrating Cliff's impact.
Yeah, Cliff Omorie. I mean, I don't think so. He's number 6 on our big board, so I'm not going to sit here and say like he does. Look, you can always use rim protection, and he's super experienced, played a ton of games. Look, like the offensive game, it's not like great, but he's not. I mean, he's not really a guy that you're running plays for. Like, yeah, can he give you a couple of back downs? Sure, but really, it's going to be pick and roll lobs, things like that. So, Clark, I don't think we've seen your name in here. Appreciate the comment. We got people asking about Bronny. Yeah, Bronny's in the portal. We'll see if he goes to the NBA. That whole thing is just kind of weird. And then we got a Dutiero here. Joke about Bronny.
He's coming in for the best comment of the night now, too.
Yeah.
Adu is bidding Kentucky adieu.
Right up my alley.
Yes, he is in the portal. I don't think he'll be coming back to Kentucky, but we'll see. It's college basketball. You just never know.
You never know what's going to happen. Everything is uncertain, as is life. Thank you, everybody, for commenting. It has been awesome. This comment section has been blowing up. Love seeing it. Even if you're watching after the fact, still comment. We comment back. We check it all the time. But thank you to everybody that commented on here. Peanut Butter, Maul Hornet, Cam, Joe Cornett, Razorback, Miles Roundtree, Tar Heels for Life, Clark, and Joe again. Yes, go out there, make somebody smile, and until next time, let's get that bread.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drrodo.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.